So hi there, welcome back to another insightful session at the Simply Visible Summit. I'd love to introduce you to the one and only Juliette Stapleton, alias the Queen of Visibility. Juliette is an online visibility strategist. She mentors coaches and experts using human design to realign their marketing with their authentic selves. She is internationally recognized for her direct, non-traditional marketing methods, teaches how to show up online confidently, build strong positioning as an authority in your niche, and attract perfectly aligned clients and opportunities. Juliette is also a seasoned podcast host, a passionate speaker, and a writer featured in Forbes, talking about staying visible in uncertain times. She actively contributes to Entrepreneur, Addicted to Success, Influence It, and multiple other major online publications. Hi, Juliette, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Agnes. I'm so delighted and humbled to be part of the summit.
Thank you. We are so excited to hear you speak about marketing by human design, how to unlock your magnetism and bring back harmony and ease. This topic, I think, is so needed because we are so confused most of the times how to market. The way, market is the word, the marketing word is just freaking out on us. And it's really something that I think your wisdom will help us with so much. So let's start with an overarching theme. Why do you think most entrepreneurs are burnt out trying to market their businesses online?
I love this question. And what you just mentioned is so true. Most of us hate marketing. I even know some coaches who made it a brand. There's Johnny Hates Marketing brand. But it's true because we are pushed in so many ways that we don't expect to be pushed when we have this idea that, oh, this is how I can help people. This is what I can bring to the world. And then we have to actually take responsibility and show up and stand out in the noisy world of online marketing. These days, this kind of online is so important. I don't believe that online marketing is more difficult than offline marketing, although you might rely on your existing network of, people that you know in your local area if you're doing it that way. However, even these days, when I started, I helped local businesses, and it was always about bringing the conversations they had in their premises online. And that's how we were, keeping this conversation and relationships going. And, people loved seeing staff members' pictures on their Facebook pages, for example, because people work with people, and that's a really important connection. However, when you come to the online space, and I've been there in 2017 myself, I've been working with other businesses. I helped them. I had so much expertise and knowledge, but I never did it for myself. So I totally understand how this hits you, and you're so confused and you don't know how to make it work. You're looking at so many people who seem very successful, and they're selling you these ways how they build their businesses and all this advice, and you're, some of them you really like, and then you follow them and you buy into their programs and you apply those programs and you really do a good job, and yet there's zero results. Why? And you try again, very little results. Or maybe it's just takes much longer than what seemingly is a promise. There's too many things out there, and they say, build your first, your first 1,000 subscribers in 30 days. But they're forgetting that not everyone is even capable to achieve these results, because it's all about what you're bringing to the table. So all these things we're not talking about, and we're trying to do, sometimes we're trying to use strategies that are not for our level, not for a type of business. There's so much of this going on, and we don't question these influencers that we're buying into. We don't question how well is what they're selling or advising will work for your business. This is the big problem that I see. So after all that, and there's just too much of that going on, I'm going to just call it out. After all that, people do get burnt out. My big burnout happened and lasted for almost 2 years. It happened when I just decided that I'm bad at sales. I wasn't bad at sales. I actually wasn't clear on what I was selling, because when I was clear, selling for me is a chat. I don't even, I don't go in and follow any structures. People come to me pre-sold when I'm myself clear what I'm selling, and I'm, posting about it, I'm showing up with it. But the problem was what I didn't know what I was selling. And yet I hired a sales coach, and the sales coach said to me, okay, Juliette, your program is now $2,000. Go and find 10 people by the end of the week. And that was horrible. That was horrible to me because it was not aligned with my business. I wasn't in a place to go and sell because everything else wasn't there. I wasn't 100% sure on what I want to do, how I want to package it, how I feel about it. The most importantly, sometimes we go and hire coaches who give us the structure and they're like, okay, this is now your signature offer. But the truth is that we don't, maybe it makes sense in here, but we don't feel connected to it. There is no conviction that this is exactly what I want to do. There's still this unclarity or lack of clarity. Sometimes to create conviction, you actually have to go and do it with people. But what I noticed is that to market yourself, if you don't have 100% conviction about what you're doing, it's really, really difficult. You always feel like you're almost desperate and begging people for some sort of comebacks to raise their hand, but they can't raise their hand. They don't understand what you're selling. Your content is way too vague, and there's probably no explanation. What do you actually do? And all that is contributing to this. Where the problem is really truly is the fact that our personal uniqueness is not considered when we come to this sort of advice. And this was the big, just as I started, what happened to me after that task, first of all, of course, I didn't even do anything. I literally got paralyzed. I even since invented this terminology like marketing paralysis, because a lot of people have been there. They need to do something. Their whole body says no. And they can't do it, or they can't do it properly because there is something inside screaming stop. So they start feeling really bad because their mind says you have to do this, or they feel ashamed that they can't do it. They always feel like something's wrong with them, but it isn't. The simple thing is that the body actually is the best guide that we have, right? And the body always says what's aligned, what's correct, what is not correct. So with human design, for example, one of the things that we're doing is we're learning to recognize for you specifically where or how does your body give you these signals, whether something is healthy or unhealthy for you, correct or incorrect, aligned or misaligned, because the mechanism is always there. And so by pushing through and trying to do things that are not really aligned with who you might be, your energetics, trying to repeat that somebody else doing, comparing yourself to someone and trying to learn from them, how they express themselves, and thinking that just because they're successful, that's the way to do it. But that's the way to do it for them.
For them, yes.
That's why they got successful, because they knowingly or unknowingly aligned with their natural magnetism. And what's very interesting, I do sometimes approach people who are bigger influencers that I watch, and I will ask them if I can run their human design chart if they don't know who they are, so I can see what's going on. We don't even need to dive very deep into it, but you can even see from the top level, like what is their type, what's their strategy, what's their profile, how aligned what they do and how they express themselves in their businesses and their messaging and the offers that they make. How is it aligned? And it always shocks me, because people who are successful somehow naturally do what their design says, this is what would work for you. And then if that person has completely different type to me and I try to do it, of course it's not going to work. And I believe that we're all completely unique, and everybody has a completely unique way of expressing themselves. But with some of where I love human design, that with some of the traits that we have, you can definitely get a permission to lean more into a certain way how you can naturally express yourself, which is easy for you.
Yeah.
And it goes completely against to what traditional marketing advice goes. And this is why, the burnout is definitely caused by lacking the flow. What we need to do is find that flow.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what, and it feels like we are, doing something not right, yeah, because we try to find our flow, and to some other people it looks like it's totally nuts, but it makes not like sense to us, but we feel this is the way to go. So Juliette, what is exactly human design? Because some people don't really know where to put it on the map. What is it, and how can we use it in our businesses and marketing?
It's a very, very good question. And exactly, we need to mention, so I keep bringing up human design and type and strategy and profile and all these things. And it can be very confusing and overwhelming. Human design is a very new concept, but it's rooted in very, very ancient wisdoms, like Chinese I Ching and the Book of Changes and astrology, all the studies and revelations, that amazing minds over thousands of years, centuries had. It all just boiled in, and it was created in the late 80s by a person who was the original teacher of human design. Over 2 years, he kind of put together, he had a download, he got a revelation, and he put together this system. How I like seeing it, and I really don't like going too much into like, what's the origin of this? Because does it matter if it's super accurate? Does it matter if it's going to empower you? Does it really matter how exactly it came to be when you're actually looking at it, even no matter how skeptical you are, and it makes logical sense? So the premise to human design, what I call it, it's like a profiling system, but it's based on your energetics. It's based on your aura, how you aurically interact with other people. It really is all about relationships, even though it's a study of yourself too. So how you interact with other people, understanding the mechanics of this, because sometimes if you understand how your aura works, how your energies work with another person, then you know when they give you resistance, when they push you back, you understand why this is happening, and it becomes easier to take a less impulsive and actually very, very simple route of maybe relaxing into the flow, maybe slowing down. My favorite quote, and I know it's here on the page, is slow down to accelerate, because sometimes we need to slow down. In fact, I think that majority of people in the world, in fact, by human design, majority of people in the world need to wait for something. And we hate waiting. We're conditioned to absolutely hate waiting, because we think waiting is like a passive act of sitting on your hands, and waiting for something to happen to us. It's not at all. We can be creating, we can do so many things. But what we don't need to do is push, because pushing is the worst strategy for anyone, because you're not letting your body to respond to what's outside you. There are some types and majority of people actually in the world that are people like that. Or maybe you don't let people see the true essence of you and invite you. So you're not actually doing enough to be visible, and with just being, without doing anything, actually doing anything, attract aligned people, right? That's projectors in human design. Yeah. We have people who initiate, but they still sometimes need to wait for emotional clarity, or they need to wait for creative, like the timing is so important. And human design it will give you your profile. It's like an operating system. And imagine if you're a Mac, but you're trying to run by Windows operating system rules. Even this is a good, there's a keyboard, right? So if we trying to use shortcuts for Windows on a Mac keyboard.
Mac, yeah.
It's not going to work. That's what we do in life. That's what we do in businesses, in our marketing. We're just trying to always operate by somebody else's operating manual. Now, the truth is that, and there's another big thing about human design, that this is not dogma. It's not a religion. It's not something that says this is black and this is white and this is how it should be. The premise there is that this is the map. This is the operating manual. Play with it. Experiment with it. You know, the idea is that we, in our design, when we're born, so it's based on the time and the date of your birth, or at that moment, you get imprinted by the cosmic particles. You get imprinted in some places. You have always all the energies, but you have consistent access to these energies that you're imprinted with at birth, right? So the sun is the closest planet. It will give you most of the energies, and then some other planets. And there is, depending on basically on what was happening in the astrological world at that moment, that's how your personality is born. And then at some point before that, there is another imprint that's happening on your design level, which is your ancestry, your subconscious definition, your subconscious consistent energies that you have, you can tap anytime, you know, you always have access to. And then we have other places, as I mentioned, we have all the energies, but we have other places that we call openness, but that doesn't mean that there is nothing there. It's just these are the consistent broadcast and definition we broadcast into the world, you know. So if I have, say, we have these 9 centers, so we're evolving from the traditional 7 centers, I think traditionally 7 chakras, we're evolving into nine centers beings. And some centers we have defined. So I have my head center defined. I have constant inspirations coming from within me into the world. So if you have an undefined or open head and you're with me a little bit when you leave this call, or, you know, you will feel inspired. Now that inspiration might not belong to you.
Okay.
You might ask yourself questions that are, they're not important to you, right? That can happen too. But sometimes maybe I can ask you the right questions, or I can inspire you to do the right questions. So we get to influence other people, and we call it condition other people with our defined energies. But with the openness, we sample. And that's where the true wisdom happens. We sample, and yes, we take some energies in, and we think that they're ours. You know, we can be with someone, say, for example, you don't have the consistent access to the life force, you know, energy from doing something, but your mom has, and you're with your mom, you think you have it, and yet you're running around like an energizer rabbit because you're amplifying that energy, and then all of a sudden, you know, at the end of the day, you're just crushing. Yeah, that can happen. So we are constantly from birth in energies of other people. So we're constantly conditioned by the defined energies of other people. And human design teaches you how to have awareness of where your energies are consistent in your broadcasting, where you might be conditioned. So maybe you need to think about, you know, let go of some limiting beliefs, see what's yours, what's not yours. And also, because you are sampling these other people's broadcasts, you get so much wisdom, you get so much flexibility in those areas as well. And I will let you in on a secret. This is also where you sell from in human design, by human design, because you understand where people can have what we call a not self themes and questions. Because, you know, if you're aligned, if you're perfectly aligned, you don't need anything. You're fine. You don't want to be bigger, more, you don't want to change. You're aligned. This is it. You know, that's your full state, but nobody lives in the full state. We live in a material plane. So we're constantly want to change. We're constantly thinking out of our mind, and the mind and our ego are pushing us, you know, to do more, to be more, to do things easier, to do. And in a way, with marketing, this is what it's all about, right? To sell people what they want. And so human design, for me, it gives you the understanding of yourself, an explanation why you are a certain way, you know, in how you work with clients, in what strategies you feel really, really good and in the flow with, and what strategies you can't even stomach, you know, and gives you also a guidance tool to make decisions. So you can very easily say, you know what, I know that this is my mechanism and it's saying to me no. So I'm going to say no to your offer and your strategies and your program, because I totally feel like in my body, I don't have to explain logically why not. It's just wrong. It's just incorrect. I'm all about correctness and incorrectness. I've learned the hard way how it is to be within incorrect people, to live in an incorrect environment, and it's detrimental to your health, to everything, to your whole life. So this is what, so I hope that I'm kind of giving you a very vague idea, because there's no one sentence. Human design doesn't have a shallow end. You can't have a beginner course on human design. It's just crazily, you go straight into the deep end. But my goal is to focus on smaller areas that are more important to master than to understand everything else. Because if you just follow this couple of areas or get awareness and understanding, say with your personality, what we call human design profile and your brand, you can take that and that's all you need to completely transform your marketing, your business, your whole life.
So depending on which type we are, so can we rely on that, and the type and the profile, can we rely on that in marketing? Just as,
oh yes, absolutely. I'm actually going to go through just very, very quickly, just give you a couple of examples, because my gift to you is a course where you can learn what each type can do, and also just how to magnetize your brand voice with the profile lines. But I want to, just to give you an idea, energetically, we can be all divided into 5 energetic types. It's like how our aura is shaped. We have manifestors, who are here to ignite, initiate. They're the ones that have this magic of the voice in a way. And it's funny, because with manifestors, they just need to speak, even if they're talking about, I don't know, cooking something or like eggs, and I'm already like, okay, I'm ready for action. I'll go and do my own stuff, what I need to do. So manifestors here energetically have this role of igniting us. If you are a manifestor and you're doing, you're using it in your marketing, then you can understand, okay, I'm here to ignite. So manifestors are not here to follow through and finish the process, because they don't have enough energy of their own, and they will get bored, and they're here to ignite, initiate. So they will just get, switch to another project. They're here to start things. When you're here to start things, then that maybe doing something like a done for you support work is not going to be for you necessarily, especially if it's very involved and involves a lot of doing stuff for other people, because you're just going to feel like suffocating in that. You will feel like there's no freedom in that for you. So knowing your type is so important. We have generators and manifesting generators. They're almost 70% of the world. So they're all the same type with the difference in their paces. So that's how I see it anyway. So the generators are here with a very open aura. It's very open, it's penetrable, and they're so, it's like when I'm with generator, I'm like I'm in a hug. That's how I feel. Because it's like, it's easy. Manifestors, they're loners. They just have this dense aura, and sometimes they just walk into the room and somebody already feels a little uncomfortable with it because of the dense aura. And they're created for that for a reason. So they can be alone. So they can go and do things just as they please. They're not here to be stuck with people. The generator energy is completely opposite. It's an energy, it's a group energy. So it's an energy for creation. It's for collaboration. It's for doing things. They get satisfaction from doing things. If a generator is into something that they love, they will spend so much on it. And then there is this manifesting generator. Are you a manifesting generator or
I'm a pure generator.
Pure generator.
Yeah.
So there's a difference that there is between a manifesting generator and a generator. Manifesting generators are designed to handle more projects at a time. They're just like juggling balls. They don't always do a great job at every one of those things, right? They're not going too deep with this, but they can do a lot of things at the same time. And they like being busy. And the worst thing for, if you're a manifesting generator listening to this, the worst thing for you is trying to say, oh my God, I have to schedule 2-hour block so I can write this content, because after half an hour, you'll get bored and then it's going to be a torture for you. So you have to learn to switch things up. It's okay to just drop things when you got bored, drop it halfway, you'll come back to it and just kind of manage doing things like this. So yes, manifesting generators are faster, they're not that they're multi-passionate, this is not the right way to say, because everybody can be multi-passionate, but they can multitask much better than other people over prolonged period of time. Whereas the pure generator tend to focus on one thing at a time. So you can have a lot of passions, you can still be very multi-passionate, but you will focus on one thing and you'll just be doing it over and over and over again, and you will love it. Especially, you have to follow that joy. That the joy is for generators is what calls them. Tell me, as a pure generator yourself, Agnes, does this feel like, just getting into something you really love and you just want to do it and do it and do it and do it?
Yes, I'm absolutely, yeah, I tend to do that. And I remember when I was a child, I had these, my favorite pullover, for example, and I just had to wear that all the time. And my mom was like, okay, throw it away. I don't know if they just look terrible. And it's just, there are so many other, no, this is the one, I have to do it. Or, there are some certain things that I do for, I don't know how long times, like over and over and over again. I remember in one break, I watched 101 Dalmatians, the cartoon, 50 times, because I just love it so much. And
that's it.
So yeah, that's me.
Before Netflix came to be and we all started binging, my sister, who is also a generator, she invented binging, I believe, before binging existed, because she would be watching, like download or whatever she was getting boxes, she was just watching them for hours and hours because it's the satisfaction. Now, and not everyone, maybe when you're listening to this and saying, okay, well, I know I'm a generator, but I never wore the same pullover. That's okay, because we're all different in that way. But how can you take this idea that you focus on one thing that you love? How can you benefit from this knowledge? You can choose in your business to focus on one thing at a time. So you don't need at the same time to master Facebook, build your funnel, build your audience. Focus on one thing at a time and master it until it becomes the second nature.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's just a question I think many people have, because sometimes when we hear, okay, what's your type? For me, example, I was like, no, I think I'm a manifesting generator. It can't be, because it's just, I was the one for a long time, and I'm trying to, discipline myself out of it. To do so many things, and I'm so, because I'm multi-passionate, I'm so interested in this and that, and then do this and that, and then I thought that was my normal way of being, but then I got an answer for that. What do you think? Why is that? That we feel this way, but it's actually not really our own.
Well, it's not that it's not. You see, the thing is that we don't live in this isolation where we can just be within our own energies. We're always living with other, or even when we just get out of the house, we're with other people in other people auras. And sometimes there's also planetary transits every day. There could be something activating. I have days when a projector, I am acting as a manifesting generator and multitasking very successfully, but the truth is that's a borrowed energy, or that's a borrowed strategy. So you can get burnt out if you're doing it over a long period of time. And yes, so there is no black and white. Again, we are taught from the very start to do everything and to think through from our mind. However, the mind is for inspiration, brainstorming, asking questions, but it is where sometimes limiting beliefs or wrong beliefs reside too. So for example, I'm a projector, and for many years I lived like a generator, or maybe even like a manifesting generator. I was focusing so much on doing. And I felt And it's not even that I was exhausted, because it was just so much that you don't get a chance to allow you to think how exhausted you are. But it showed in my signature feeling of misalignment, which is bitterness. With generators, it'll show in frustration, because sooner or later you're going to start hitting walls. You're going to start feeling overwhelmed that there's too much going on. Because one thing, and there's another thing we need to think, for example, as a multi-passionate person, if you're passionate about certain, loads of things, there's a difference between the manifesting generator and generator. Generators can stick to something longer at a time. So, for example, if you decide that you have this box of stuff and you're going to organize it, and you're so into this and you're feeling so good organizing it, you can spend the whole day organizing that box, and you will feel the whole day you have the energy for this, you will be so into this. A manifesting generator could say, okay, I'm going to organize this. They will throw everything out of the box, and then in half an hour or an hour, this, excitement switches. And then they feel like it's a torture, but they will force themselves to finish the job. And so half of the day they're there frustrated, just torturing themselves. But their mind says, no, you have to finish, because the good person finishes the job. This is what happens with our mind dialogue. This is what happens. We talk ourselves into, because, we're conditioned to believe that this is how we should be. We conditioned to believe that we have to set goals, but half of the world is not designed to be setting goals or achieving goals. Setting maybe, but like how, not targets. For me, if you tell me, Juliette, go and this is what happened with my sales coach, right? Go and make $10,000 this week. No way, I'm not even going to lift my finger. I cannot be motivated by numbers. And in human design, now I can say I have a completely open will center. Will center is in charge of committing to something and achieving this, provided all the other circumstances align, of course. But I don't have it. I'm just here open to receive. I'm here to shine my light. We were talking before they started recording about me shining my light, but that's what I'm here to do. Shine my light, open to receive. People will find me. I don't need to go get, I don't need to go make. A majority of people don't need to go and get. And that's the biggest thing. I think the human design, if you boil it down, it's about the flow. It's not about go getting. And that's really, really important to rest into. And it's the hardest thing as well, because you have to let go of what you believed the whole of your life. A lot of people don't self-identify when they first come to human design, and they're like, oh no, how am I going to focus on one thing? I have so many things. But it's about allow this information to sink in, because this is an experiment. You just need to observe it over a period of time. This is not something that you read it and that moment your life has changed. That's why they call it an experiment in human design. And in business, the same thing. When you start applying things, you say, what if I shelf these things that I want to do in my business, and I'll just focus on mastering this. So I have this way of, creating, for example, I want to create a publicity schedule. I want to be a guest on podcasts. I'm just going to focus for the next 2 weeks or a month just on this. And then I'll create a system for myself, because generators are very good at systems. So I'll create step-by-step process, write a checklist, and then I don't have to spend too much time thinking about it. I'll just have the system to follow, check, that's done. I can focus on maybe growing my list. That's how knowing about your human design energetics type, for example, helps. And I think that we also need to mention the profile, human design profile is very important, because this is how you see yourself and how people see you. Obviously, we are very unique people, but there are common traits, so there is the 6 lines, profile lines, and they create a combination of 12 profiles. Not every line goes together. So if you're into maths, please don't catch me on this, because not every, it's not every line combines with another line. But based on these lines, you can explain a lot of things about you, certain way you see the world and certain way you like being. There are people who like being on their own and doing their own thing. They like hermiting. It's line 2. Like, there are people who are constantly driven by intellectual stimulation, the research, because they need to know. And that's anyone with the line 1 in their profile. You have line 5, you're a 5-1. I'm a 1-3. So when the number is the first number, that's more conscious. It's more something that's where also the non-limiting beliefs, the not self, all that, is the shadow, we call it. That's where it can hang, like number one line. If it's a personality line, first line can have a huge imposter syndrome, that will hold you in that research and never share what you have, because you would just feel like, oh, I don't know enough, I need to learn more. And you don't even realize that for you, the information that it's so much more than anyone else can imagine, because you just gathered so much. So when it's a conscious line, we can work with that and we can lean into that, and we can start saying, okay, what's your design line? What is the second line? What can you do? For me, it's three is all about experimenting. I don't wake up and I say, what can I experiment with today? But if I look back at my life, I bump into it. I do things that just to experience this, because that's when I know. When I tested it on my own skin, that's when I know. So I can do that in my business. I can try new things. I can say, okay, I've never tried this strategy. I don't know how and I will never know if it's going to work for me or not until I try it. So while I'm trying it, then I can watch my body. I can, think like, is it aligned with me as a projector and my strategy of shining my light and receiving invitations? Is it aligned with that? How does my authority, how does my body respond to it? Is it saying, yes, it's good. It's good for, or is it saying, nope, stop now? And that's as simple as that. And it's so interesting, with you, for example, you have a line 5 as your first line. And that's I am so obsessed with line 5. I love line 5.
I know.
It's my fractal. It's fractal means that these are the people karmically who should be in my life. I'm here to be amongst line 5, and I am. Everyone in my family, my birth family and my married family are 3-5. So this subconscious line, which is more obvious to me, is there. And that is the line that lives in projections of other people. So it's to understand as well, like why are people projecting that you're going to come in and save them? And you sometimes feel like, I don't know if I can do what they're asking me to do. But then when you don't deliver on this, they're switching off and, now you're the worst person, or, the disappointment. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? And so this is where, for me, how do you show up when you have that energy? What do you need to network, or do you need to maybe create a position of like a leadership? And maybe it's not, don't let people too close, and be very clear and create these boundaries. That's a very, very good advice for someone with that kind of energy. If you have energy 4, then you're not for strangers. People who don't know you, they don't see you. They don't see you the way you are. You need to make them first your connections. So you need to get them into some space where they can see you and feel like they know you. What do? You do video. Because on video, even if it's not a live call, we get to experience the person, and then after 20 minutes we already feel like we know them, right? That's how we, the actors we see in the movies, we think them sometimes like, oh, I love this actor, and if you meet them in the street, it's awkward because they're like, I don't know you. It's a stranger. But we just feel, so if you have that energy that you need to move people from not knowing you before you can outreach, before anything happens like this, you need to make them your friends, right? So and when you know that, then you say, okay, fair enough. So the cold outreach is not going to work. They don't know me, so that it's going to be a pushback. Plus, maybe a fixed voice, then that's going to be even worse, because they will feel like I'm very aggressive. That can happen too. So what's really interesting is to understand what your energetics are, how others perceive you, and how you can take advantage of that in your brand voice. And trust me, when you actually look at it, even no matter how close you're to human design. I just recently had a call and the lady said, I'm so triggered by what you were said. And she ordered my marketing blueprint by design report. And she was triggered. She said, this is not me. You said I have to wait. I don't want to wait. And at the end of the call, because I'm a marketer, I'm not a human design coach, I'm a marketer. So I worked with her about, the marketing, but I was still bringing in this information that I learned about her. And she said, oh my God, I thought there was a wall, but there is a door. And you're opening this door for me. I can see this is now makes sense. It's no longer, I feel like I'm triggered by this. I feel like this is something, it's a revelation for me. And that's what I want for you guys in the audience, right? This is what I want to do, open that door and bring that. So yeah, and I have a little free gift for you as well to help you get started.
Yeah. So can you just real quick tell me how deeply does one need to study human design to really make a difference with this knowledge? So do we have to know each and every gate, and how deep
Very
do we
good
have to
question.
go into
I
this?
mentioned already that human design doesn't have a shallow end, and I'm going to strongly talk you out of trying to learn everything before you start implementing. So the most important three areas for you to master and experiment with is understanding your type and how your aura works. What is the strategy for your type? What is the strategy? And what is your decision-making authority? It is going to bring so much ease, and allow it, have a month that you're going to just watch how you respond. It's not a black and white, it's not right or wrong. It's about awareness. We're not taught to tune in. We're taught to always be out and busy and like hamster in a wheel. But actually, it's all within us. So if you manage that, your life will create there will be more harmony and ease around you already. And the profile lines, understanding that's where you're going to get so much ideas for your content. What's the angle to take when you're expressing yourself? So it's really, really practical, hands-on information for your brand, how to show up, how to be magnetic, but you can't be magnetic even if you understand your personality, if you're not following your strategy and you're pushing where you need to flow. So this is just the top levels. Everything else gets activated when you follow your strategy and authority for your type. Everything else.
Yeah, it's really, really valuable. I mean, yeah, because most of us would like to just go in head first and let's do everything, let's see everything, let's learn everything, but you just get, I mean, it's just too much.
There is another reason I'll give you.
So
there's another reason. Be selfish about your time. The time is something that you can't get back. So by the time you're going to learn everything, which you really don't need, because if you don't follow your strategy and authority, nothing matters. It's not activated. It's not, you don't have access to all these energies. You can learn about them till the cows come home, but they're not going to work for you. So focus on focus on those basics. And you don't even need to ever open any human design book even, because everything else will align just naturally, whether you know about it or don't know about it, if you follow your strategy and authority. And then what I said about the time, don't waste your time. Start using it in your business. Start using it, because you will see how things will start slowly, incrementally, but they will start changing. And it is so empowering, because you see that you are making decisions that are aligned with you. You feel good about what you're doing. You suddenly start having aha moments and things that they fall into place because you've been attracting correct people. You've been not, wasting your energy on things that are not healthy or incorrect for you. So all of a sudden the clarity comes, and we go to the very beginning of this conversation about the conviction. So when the clarity comes and self-empowerment and self-recognition, you become so convinced about that what you do is really good. Showing up is a breeze when you feel like this about what you do, and you're clear about how you're showing up, who you are. This is why it's so beautiful. The rest is all nice to have, and if you have a lot of free time, I don't, you can do that, but don't wait until you know everything before you apply it in your life and your business.
Yeah. And talking about, you don't need to read a whole book about this, but as far as I know, you will have your book coming up, and I think by the time the audience will see this interview, it might be out. So
I am writing a book. This is the first time I am officially telling anyone that that I'm writing a book. And I'm hoping, yes, by the time this summit is out, I'm hoping to have, but my goal is, first of all, quality over the deliverables. Again, targets, I know already it's not going to work. But there's another thing. You still don't need to read my whole book. Just read the stuff that's about yourself, right? And that's all you need to do. That's my idea and intention, that is going to be a reference and with a little bit of personal stories and inspirations. And so it's going to be called very simply Marketing by Human Design. So you might go to Amazon, or your local Amazon, and search for it, and it might be there. And if not, it will be there shortly anyway. So, but thank you so much for mentioning.
Yeah, I will definitely check it out because I just love your work. You bring to us a free gift. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, so if anything that I said sort of kind of, inspired you to learn a little more, instead of going too deep, there is a master class. It's a 2-part master class. I think it's 40 minutes each. And we're going to go into the business energetics. So you type in your strategy in the first, and then the human design profile lines in the second one, with very practical advice how you can, create content with these angles and actually start implementing this. So you can watch that in one day. You can use the double speed. I know I speak fast, but, save your time, all these things. So that's my gift to you. And it's called Human Design for Aligned Visibility. And I hope, and I would love to hear your feedback, what you've learned from that.
I'm sure all the people will love it who will see it. It helped me a lot personally. And also you have a special gift to our VIP ticket holders. Yeah. And this one is super powerful. Can you tell a little bit about
Yes.
it?
So one of the signature, probably the signature thing that I do is I create marketing blueprints by design reports, which is really in depth. I'm line one, I go deep, really in depth, but not in depth about everything. Only what matters for you to really understand your type, your authority, how to make decisions, your personality, and really the shadows, especially because they're holding us back, so we need to understand the shadows of our personality. And also how you can sell based on your design, and where there's like little indications that, oh, could be a very, very magnetic selling angle for me. So I'll have a look and I'll just include that as well. So it's about from 35 to 40 pages. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on how much definition or openness you have, of course. So it's really, really good. And it could be your go-to compass for time to come. So my gift is a real nifty €50 discount from the price of the blueprint, and I would absolutely be honored to work with your energy.
Thank you so much. It's really, really nice of you. I mean, I think we really should grab this, all of us. So you definitely want to check it out. Make sure to upgrade to the VIP ticket, because there are so many amazing bonuses, including this one. Absolutely something you want to take a look at. Juliette, thank you so much for your time and all your wisdom that you shared with us.
You're so welcome. And it was just such an honor to share. And guys, as I said, if I just opened a little door for you today, my mission in life is complete, basically.
Thank you so much. Thank you.